to the Prem and Proper YouTube channel. So in this video, I am making a recipe that I've got a lot of requests for, and it is okra stew. There are so many different ways to make okra stew, and I haven't always made it this way, but this is my favorite way to make okra stew. So I'm going to share this recipe with you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here are the ingredients I will be using. Here is my already cut up okra. I bought some fresh okra and I cut them up, and I will show you how I cut up my okra. Some people use tomatoes for their okra stew, and I have used tomatoes for my okra stew in the past, but I don't anymore. I only use onions, and I use red and white onions. And I'll show you. I will blend some and I will cut some up for my okra stew. I will also be using some jute leaves. These are slimy, so I don't know if there's another name for it, but it's slimy like your okra. I will be using my favorite Maggi shrimp and chicken seasoning. I'll be using some hot bonnet pepper, some momone, which is cured fish. I will use 2 thumbs of ginger, and I will use almost a whole bulb of garlic. I will be using different types of meats from my okra stew. I'm using goat meat, I'm using some tribe, I'm also using some shrimp. I will be using some cow skin, also known as willy. I will also be using some smoked turkey and some crabs. So tribe is basically the stomach of the cow. It could also be a sheep or a deer, but I'm using a cow. And because it takes very long to cook, I start by cooking my tribe, and I only use water and salt to cook it. The cow skin also takes a while to cook, so I start with that also, and I cook it with water and salt only. And if you've watched the video for my palaver sauce recipe, then you probably already know that whenever I use smoked turkey, I season it with powdered red pepper and my shrimp Maggi seasoning. I bake it before I use it in any stew that I make. This helps to remove the fishy smell that most people don't like on smoked turkey from the turkey. All right, so I'm going to blend 3 red onions, 2 thumbs of ginger. I will blend about 8 cloves of garlic. So this is 6, 7, 8. And I will put all my hot peppers in there. I'll add a little bit of water, and then I will blend. So I will use this mix for both my stew and to cook my goat meat. So I'm just leaving just about 1/4 of the red onions so that I can chop up that and put it on my goat meat that I'm going to steam a little bit before I use in my stew. I'm also adding my 1 shrimp Maggi and 1 chicken Maggi into my blended mixture. All right, so to cook my goat meat, I first start by just using a little bit of water, and I also chop up some red or white onions, whichever you want to use is fine. To cook the goat meat for about 10 minutes first before I add my blended onions and ginger and garlic. And I do this because I want to get some of the blood out of the goat meat before I add anything else. If you don't do this, the broth that you get on your goat meat red because it will have some of the blood from the meat inside. So you cook it with some water first, just with some onions, a little bit of salt, and water first before you add in your blended ingredients. All right, so for the shrimp, I'm just going to steam it for about 5 minutes. I chopped up a little bit of white onions on it. I'm just putting a little bit of the blended onions, ginger, garlic on it, and I'll also add just about a pinch of salt on it, and I'll steam it for about 5 minutes. White onions, I'm just slicing them into big slices like so. I think I'm going to use at least 2 white onions. When I start my stew, I'll use about half of it, and later on I will put the rest of the onions in my stew. At the end, when I'm almost done, I will add the rest of the white onions. So my tripe has cooked for at least 40 minutes. I'm gonna pour it in here, and I'm also going to add the cow skin in here and let it all cook with the goat meat while it's cooking. Yeah, and I poured the stock for the tripe in there, but for the goat skin, the stock is a little bit darker and I don't want that. So I'm just taking the cow skin out without the stock, and I'm just going to put it in here and let it all cook. I want everything to be really soft. Here it is. So after I had cooked my tripe and my cow skin, if they were the texture that I wanted, if they were soft enough, then it would not be necessary for me to pour it in here, but I still want them a little bit softer, and that's why I'm adding them in here. So I will cover it and let it cook. So I start with just a little bit of palm oil, and then later on, closer to the end of the process, if I find that I need a little bit more, then I will add a little bit more. You don't want to use too much palm oil. So I fry my palm oil, I heat it up, and then I add my momone, which is my cured fish. And honestly, this is the secret weapon of your okra stew. I almost never make my okra stew without momone. Whenever I don't have momone, I sometimes use kobe, which is salted fish, which it really does take your okra stew to the next level. So I let my momone fry in my palm oil for about 5 minutes. I want to make sure that all the juices from the momone get into my palm oil for a lot of flavor for my okra stew. Next, I'm going to put about half of the white onions that I cut up into my stew. I'll save the other half for towards the end. So I'll just use about half of what I cut up. I think this is good. Now let this fry for about 5 minutes, and then I'll put in the blended stuff next. I'm pouring in all of my blended onions, garlic, ginger, peppers, and I'm going to let this fry for at least 20 minutes. It's now time for me to start adding in my meats. So I'm going to start with the smoked turkey. I'll put all of my smoked turkey into my stew. I'll let that cook for about 5 minutes before I add the rest of my meats. All right, so my goat meat is as soft as I would like it. So I am now going to transfer the goat meat, the tripe, and the cow skin into my stew. I will also put the stock from the meat into my stew for some more flavor. Now let me show you how I cut up my okra. There really is no right or wrong way to cut up your okra. Some people like to cut it up big, some people like to cut it up small. This is how I cut up mine. My thing is, if you spend too much time cutting it up into little pieces, it really doesn't matter because once the okra is in your stew, it will get smaller. And so don't spend too much time trying to get it into really tiny pieces. Some people actually blend their okra, but I don't. To cook my okra, I've put about a cup and a half of water in the pot with the okra. I'm also putting about this is about a half a teaspoon of baking soda, which replaces conway. I don't have any conway. I'm also adding my jute leaves. I'm just mixing it in. I've been cooking the okra for about 15 minutes now. It's ready to go in the stew. So I'm only going to put about half or so in first. Then I'll see if how much more I need before I add any more. I do not want the okra to overwhelm my stew. All right, so I could use a little more. I'm still not going to use everything, and we'll save the rest for later. Sometimes we put a little bit of okra in our soups when we eat fufu, or sometimes you can have some light soup with your okra and some banku. All right, so I've cleaned up my crabs and I removed the part that's usually over here. They're not too big, so I'm not gonna cut them up. I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in my stew. These are the blue crabs. All right, so I'm going to let it cook. Minutes. I'm also now going to add my shrimp at the end. I'll taste to see if I need any salt at this point. All right, so I'm now going to put in the onions that I saved for the end, and I'm just I think I have too much, so I'm not going to use all of it, but this should be good. I'll use about so and put it on and let my my crabs need to cook, so about 10 minutes. So I'll also add a little bit palm oil now. Alright guys, so the okra stew is all done, and there it is. And we will be having our okra stew with some banku later on. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know why you haven't already subscribed, but please subscribe to our channel. Let us know how you like this recipe if you try it, and leave us some comments below, and we hope to see you back on our channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.